Okay, welcome to tonight's call. I'm Kim Casey from Omaha, Nebraska. We are halfway through our second part of the Year to Shine series, and tonight we are talking about host coaching. So before we get into it, though, I have kind of a fun announcement. Our Team Building Blitz is officially over. I have a few stats to share with you guys, and I have a winner to share with you too. As you'll notice with this Blitz, we decided to just have a winning customer as opposed to a winning rep. However, I'm definitely going to recognize a certain rep who has a whole bunch of entries, and you guys will not be surprised when you hear this name, Jen Wyrick, because she's really amazing at sharing our opportunity, which makes me think that she needs to teach us all her ways again and again and again. So cheers to Jen. Although we do not have a gift for you, I want to give you tons of props for once again really getting the word out there. And there were so many of you. In fact, a lot of the faces on this call tonight, I saw your name over and over again on the form. So you guys are amazing. This is an easy way to share, and just because our Blitz is over does not mean it stops, okay? You have access to that link and the form to use however you want. You could personally, if you like the idea of giving something away, you could personally do that, or you could just use it as your avenue for sharing about the business opportunity and the basic information. Of course, we still have Opportunity Knocks also, and Kelly Olin is actually going to go live in there tomorrow night for us. So that's an additional team building resource for you too. So utilize both of them. Do what feels right. Do what suits the person. But without further ado, I will tell you that our customer winner of the free leggings is Rachel Owinski. Ozinski, I'm guessing. Marie Isler. This is your customer, so you're going to have to correct me and tell me how you say her name. But congratulations to her, and congratulations to Marie, because Marie gets to deliver the good news. And congratulations to all of you. You guys, we had 54 entries, and 16 of those 54 people were interested in at least having a conversation about our business opportunity. So you do the rough math there, and you'll see it was about a third. Which doesn't surprise me at all. That's kind of what we found last time. So I feel like you can use that stat in your own personal world too. Like if you're wanting to recruit 3 people, you're probably going to have to talk to 10 to find 3 who are even interested in having a conversation with you. That doesn't mean that all 3 are going to join, but those 3 are at least going to engage with you and hear more and potentially join when the time is right. So I would use that number as a guide because I think it's pretty reliable. So congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to Marie and Rachel for the free leggings, and congratulations to Jen, who's on here with us tonight, for having 9 people enter into that. I don't want to say drawing, but 9 people learn more about our opportunity is what it amounts to. So awesome work to all of you, and keep using it. Keep going. So I am going to, there she is. Jen, do you want to give us like one little tidbit of wisdom real quick here?
Well, so I lost my voice this weekend, so I don't know. And I just got out of the shower because I was gone all weekend. Yeah. I don't know. I think I just I share it all the time on my social media, and then I also follow people, and I have like
I'm gonna get my headphones.
Sorry. I have like a list of people that have like even hinted at the opportunity, and then I just keep checking up on that list over and over. But I don't just check up on the list like to just to be like, hey, how about now? How about now? I check up on them just to say, hey, I'm just thinking of you. I want to know how you're doing. How's the family? And so I keep connected with them like on a personal level of, and then that way when the timing is right for them, I'm right there in their brain. So I don't know. That's my secret, I guess.
Well, awesome. I know your secret is just being consistent and being you, right? I feel like those are like the best. That's always the answer in our business. Be consistent,
right.
Be authentic, right? Okay. And guess what, you guys? That actually applies to host coaching too, which is what we're going to talk about now. So let's dive into tonight's topic, which is hopefully you've got a bunch of parties on the calendar, whether it's in person or in home. if you have bookings, the last thing you want to do is squander them, right? You worked hard to get those. It took consistency, it took effort. And if you don't put the effort into host coaching, what you can find is those parties could easily end up a bust or what could feel like a waste of your time. Now, I want to preface this by saying there are always going to be parties that you can't save, no matter what you do. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to think that you can coach every host to $1,000 party, because sometimes you can't, okay? But you have to try. And if you put in the effort, you will see increased results. So if you are not making a very intentional effort host coaching, you are going to be just blown away by the results when you actually do. So I want to run through with you why it's important to host coach. Now, of course, the obvious reason, right? And the obvious reason is you want to increase the sales because you want to increase your income and you want to meet more people so you can grow your business, right? With future customers, future bookings, future representatives to join your team. But here's the other piece of it. And this is the piece that I really think we have to focus on when we're being service oriented. And that is, you don't want a disappointed host. If somebody is hosting a Zaya party, they want free and half price clothes. They're not hosting a Zaya party. 9 out of 10 times, they're not doing you a favor. They're not trying to be a good Samaritan, right? They want free and half price clothes. So if they don't have a good party, they're disappointed, right? There's not that they're going to blame you, but they're probably not going to walk away from that experience being as fulfilled, as happy, or as excited as they would have been if they would have earned some host rewards. So what that basically means is you owe it to them to host coach them. Sometimes we feel like by host coaching, we're pressuring people or we're pushing people. But the bottom line is these people have probably never hosted an activewear party before. They don't really know what it means to be successful or what it takes to be successful. If you don't teach them and if you don't help them, their party's probably going to tank. And that is not what they signed up for, right? They signed up to earn something. So I think the first key in being a successful coach for your host is kind of that paradigm shift of I'm not bugging this person, I'm helping this person because they did not show up here to waste their time and not earn host rewards. They showed up, whether it be in person or online, to get something out of this scenario. And it's our responsibility to help them figure that out. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to be sure that you have a really fun vibe while you're doing this, because you could take what I just said really seriously and you could really kind of scare your host to death, right? You could decide like, okay, this is business. This means business. This is exactly what you have to do. This is how you have to do it. And you could present that in a way that could just simply, for lack of a better term, not be very fun. So you want to remember how important it is to do it, but on the same token, you want to be lighthearted about it and make it fun and exciting. This sounds silly, but I think things like emojis can make all the difference when you're sending messages. As much as I hate searching for the perfect one, they're helpful, right? They change tone. If you're leaving voice memos, the way you sound in your voice memo, your enthusiasm, it makes a huge difference. Hopefully you are having at least one in-person conversation, whether it be on the phone or you're talking with that person in person. Your enthusiasm in that conversation is really important. So remember that your tone is a big piece of having a successful host coaching experience, because if you're having fun, the person you're talking to is feeling that, and that can really make a positive impact. That leads into point number 3, which is the host coaching is really the beginning phases of a team building conversation. So I would say, after doing some pretty in-depth analysis of my last 15 months since I joined Zaya, a vast majority of my personal recruits are hosts that decided to join. I think this is true for a lot of people. I think that I wasn't sure of this until recently when I really, really dug into it. And it's become blatantly clear to me, at least from my perspective and from the people who I've helped, that a majority of our new team members are people who went from customer to I love the product, I want to host, to it just makes sense for me to sell this stuff too because I'm obsessed with it. We move them through the funnel, right? So your time host coaching them is really the beginning of the relationship you're building with them. You have an opportunity to get to know them, to make an impression on them, and you don't want to waste that. So it's really, really precious, that host coaching opportunity, because in many cases, it's the foundation of their start as a rep should they decide to join you. And that's just becoming more and more obvious to me. The final thing about host coaching is it is all a numbers game. And I mentioned this, like there's some hosts that you cannot teach how to have a successful party for the life of you because maybe they're just not willing to do what it has to take. Or maybe they just don't have the right network. Or maybe it was just a really bad time for them. Like there's things that you can't overcome, but you have to try and you have to play the numbers. So if we're talking online parties, if you're only having 2 this month, you can't rely on 2 online parties to get you 2,500 of volume. It's just not reliable. It could happen. Absolutely, it could happen, but you can't rely on it. Same thing goes for your host. If she wants 10 people to shop at a party, she can't just invite 10 people to an online party, right? We have to know that everything is a numbers game and you have to pad every situation with the appropriate numbers. So that goes for in-home parties and that goes for online parties. If you have questions about the specific numbers later, we can totally dive into that, but I'll mention some of them as we continue this conversation. So those are kind of some of my overarching thoughts about host coaching. It's critical. It's important. You may have a really awesome party with minimal effort, but that is not going to happen over and over again, okay? Effort is required on this part in order to have consistent success with your parties. All right, so I'm going to share with you 3 images that I threw together that will hopefully be useful to you in understanding the best practice tips for the rep. And then I have an image you can share with your in-home host and an image you can share with your online host. So let me screen share. I always tell people don't have a heart attack when you see my desktop. It's actually much better right now than it usually is, believe it or not. Okay. Here we go. See this little red image right here? You guys can see this, right? I'm not going to go full screen because then I can't see your pictures. So I'm going to leave it like this, but I'm going to run through these with you. So the first thing to know, these are tips for the rep. This is for you. And I will share these on the event for this call tonight too. So you guys have access to these tonight. I'll do it immediately. But the first thing is close communication is key. Daily is best. Close communication is something that it's really easy to lose track of with the host. I am so guilty of it. It doesn't mean that you're having an hour-long conversation with them every day. It just means you're just there. You're just touching base with them. You're giving them tiny reminders. You're letting them know that the party's happening. You're keeping it in the forefront of their mind. It is so easy to fall into the trap of not staying in close communication with your host. So train yourself to be casual, but very close every day, especially when you're approaching the couple of days leading up to an online party and then every day of the party. You're definitely going to want to be doing daily communication. When it's an in-person party, daily communication is awesome for just figuring out, hey, who's our today? How are we doing with the head count today? Oh, let me see here. I'm going to mute somebody here, but feel free to unmute yourselves at any point.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not. I can't tell who it is. Okay. We're just going to keep on rolling. Okay. Second thing, share the rewards chart and help your host set a goal she's invested in. This is a huge one for me, you guys. This is massive. I sometimes do not do this and I always regret it. I share their host rewards chart, sure. But I learned a long time ago in direct sales that it's really beneficial to ask your host, hey, which rewards level are you going for? What's your goal for this party? Now, sometimes we don't ask that question because we assume, well, $1,000, of course. Like, why wouldn't she, right? Everybody's going for $1,000. But you don't want to make that decision for her. You want her to analyze the chart. You want her to understand the chart. And you want her to state her vision and her goal. You don't want it to be something that you've just assumed or put on her. So I have 3 online hosts this week. I messaged them all today and I asked them, hey, I just wanted to share the host rewards chart with you one more time. I'm curious, which level is your goal for the party this week? You know, I'll do everything I can to make it happen. What are we going for? And I love getting the responses back. And then when I revisit, this is where we are, this is how much further we have to go. I'm doing that based on what they told me their goal was, not what I set for them. It makes all the difference. Number 3, share the numbers I was just talking about. How many people does she need to have either in the party or at the party to make that goal a reality? And you kind of have to get a handle on that yourself too, because you want to be able to give her an honest and upfront answer to, all right, if you want 10 shoppers in an online party, you're probably going to need to invite 30 to 40 people. Like not invite, we need 30 to 40 bodies in the online party, right? If you want 10 people to show up at your house, you probably need to invite 30 people to your house. So we want to be really realistic with this fact that it's somewhere between a quarter and a third of the people that you invite or that join your online party that actually end up showing up and shopping. All right? We want her to know that. We don't want that to surprise her, and we don't want to be like after the fact, oh yeah, that makes sense that you only had 2 people show up. You only invited 10. We want to be sure to let her know that from the very beginning. And that kind of leads into number 4. Tell her exactly what she needs to do to be successful. Be honest, be firm, but at the same time, be fun, right? But you don't want to be lackadaisical about this. Like if your host isn't going to participate in the online party, it's probably not going to be very successful. And it's only fair that you tell her that. It's only fair that you let her know, like, all right, in order to be successful with this party, you're really going to have to engage. Is that cool with you? Get her buy-in on that. Get her buy-in on all the things that are going to need to happen, which honestly, it's not very many things. It's just a few crucial things, which I've outlined in these upcoming images that you're going to need her buy-in for. And then prepare her for potential disappointments. Celebrate every victory. Let her know people are going to cancel the day of, right? Let her know that not everybody that gets in the online party is going to shop. Let her know all of these things because you don't want her to think it's unusual or specific to her. You want her to know that this is what happens. We want you to see it coming. We want you to know it's no big deal and just be prepared. And then every time somebody orders, make it a big deal. Every time something great happens or she gets another RSVP, celebrate it. So we want to be bringing light to all the positive things as well. So these are my top 5 tips overall for reps. Now I'm going to share with you. Let's look at, this is for your in-home host. Many of us do in-home parties, right? It's really, really simple, you guys. You need bodies in the room. Once you get bodies in the room, people buy the product. If they know they're coming to a Zaya party and they show up at the Zaya party, they're gonna fall in love if you're there to help them, right? But you have to get the people there. So this is an image you can share with your in-home host to help her make sure that she's doing everything she can to have a successful party. Okay, first is think broad with your guest list. So this is what we're telling our host. Think broad. Don't limit yourself to your local, or don't limit yourself to just one group of friends. Don't do just your gym friends or just your neighbors or just your church friends. Be broad with your guest list because only a third of the people that you invite are going to be free anyway. So if you don't just stick with one network of 10 friends and think they're all 10 going to come. Never going to happen. So we want her to know that up front. Second, personal invites are crucial. We want her to know that. A mass invite, awesome, rock on, make sure you do it. But you also want to reach out personally because that's going to make all the difference. Let her know 10% are typically going to cancel the day of the party. So, and it might even be higher, you guys. So if you've got 10 people saying that they're going to be there, 1 or 2 of them are going to say, oh, sorry, something came up, or oh, sorry, somebody's not feeling good, or oh, I totally forgot. Something like that is going to happen. But a final reminder will help with that percentage. So it's really important that your hosts know, your in-home host, that sending out a text the day of the party is super helpful in making sure that stays 10% and doesn't turn into like 30 or 40%. Your in-home host also needs to know that she should be offering a shopping link to anybody who shows any interest. And this is something I forget to do a lot myself too. But online orders are so helpful. How awesome when a host has an in-home, but that night she already has 3 or 4 orders in the bag. So tell her, hey, if anybody says to you, I can't make it, but I totally wish I could, send the link to those people. Make sure they have the party link. Make sure they know how to order because that is a super way to increase the host rewards too. And finally, we want that in-home host to be excited. We want her to talk the product up. We want her wearing it every chance that she gets. Her friends want to hear from her, right? They really care about what she thinks way more than what we think. So your host needs to know, hey, the more you wear it, the more you talk about it, the more you let your friends know your opinion of it, the more successful your party is going to be. So these are some just basic tips for your in-home host. My advice for communication with your in-home host is that you have a conversation in person when you set the party, whether it's at a party or on the phone, that you want to know, what's your goal for the party? What host rewards level do you want to earn? How many people do you want there? And then you can start talking through this image with her, and then you can continue to communicate with her via text or messenger leading up to the party. So that's a little bit about in-home host. And now I'm going to show you the tips for online host. All right, so these are for your Facebook parties, your Instagram parties, whatever kind of online party you do. First things first, your host needs to invite. That's their first job. And we want them to think of contacts all over, not just local. Some people will fall into this trap of, so sorry, I'm gonna read this chat in just a second. Okay, sorry guys, got distracted there. Squirrel, right? Okay, think all over, don't just think local. You want to post on your wall more than once, a casual post, or like maybe you do the big post and then you do a, hey, my party's ending. Did anybody want to hop in before it's over? Or, hey, my party starts tomorrow. Last call to jump in. You just want your host to get the word out broad at least twice, but you also want her talking to a minimum of 20 people personally. So I tell my host, okay, pinpoint the top 20 prospects that you have who you think are your target shoppers, the people who are going to love it, and send them this private message. And then, of course, I give them the words for the private message that they should send. Second thing, after they invite, they have to comment. They have to participate. When the party is crickets, meaning the host isn't even participating, it's never a good sign. Trust me, I have it all the time. In fact, I have it this week, and it's just not good. So we can't stress enough to the host that they need to participate. They need to comment. They need to like things. They need to tag their friends in things they think they would like. And that leads to posting. We really, really, really want our online host to either go live or post a selfie or multiple selfies of them in the gear. It makes a huge difference. Like I said, these people, and you guys know this, they care way more about what the host says than what we say, right? We obviously have a vested interest in them spending money. The host, though, they trust the host. They know that the host is really like in love with the product herself, but they want to know why. They want to know, why are you doing this party? Like, what do you love about this stuff? They need to hear from her. Fourth, and this is huge, you guys, we need the host to connect us to the guest. 3-way chats. I do a lot of Facebook parties, so that's my frame of reference for this, but I encourage my host to start a 3-way chat with anyone who has questions. So if somebody says, hey, which bra is your favorite? I'm like, you need to plug me into a 3-way chat. Let me take over. And my logic to the host is, I don't want it to take up your precious time. I want to save you time by answering the questions for you. You shouldn't have to field questions. Let me do it. I ask my host to introduce me to people via Messenger. As many possible chats as you can get into, as your host is willing to plug you into, the better, because the quicker you're directly connected to a guest, the quicker they're going to shop and the larger their order is going to be. So we want the host connecting us. And finally, we want the host to thank people. Of course, if you are not doing thank you posts for every order for your online parties, I highly recommend you do. And that's a great place where your host can also comment and thank the person. And as the guests see the host saying thank you, they realize that the host is really grateful for what's happening. And they want to help the host out, right? If the host has a goal of getting to a certain level and they're thanking people for helping her, that's really meaningful to the rest of the guests too. It means a lot more than me just saying thank you if the host is also issuing a thank you at that time as well. So this image and these tips can be used for your online host. As far as communication with them goes, I actually think the turnaround time for an online party can be really quick. Like you could book it on Saturday and start it on Monday. And that's where I think that talking to that person every day is really helpful. I do most of my online communication through Messenger, in fact, almost all of it, but I do a lot of voice memoing because I want people to hear, and I don't want to type everything I want to say, right? I think voice memos are easier for me, and it's easier for them to hear my tone, feel my energy, hopefully get excited. And it's a great way it's a great substitute for a phone conversation because we all know phone calls are kind of few and far between these days. So for me, I'm on Messenger every day with my online host. So those are my major tips for the rep, for the in-home host, and for the online host as far as host coaching goes. Do you guys have any questions, or does anybody have any thoughts that they'd like to add to that? Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I had this happen a couple weeks ago where I think I coached her correctly, but the party was a dud. I think one person ordered, and she's a good friend of mine, and I even like left her a voicemail. I tried to connect with her on the phone. I sent her text messages, Facebook messages, what to post herself, and also like what to actually do by tagging, commenting. The more that you participate, the better, because then it just turns into me just posting all this stuff, and then people kind of get lost in it. And she just didn't do it. So it's like, when does it become like, I don't want to start becoming like a nuisance or bothering her, but we also want to be successful. So there's like a fine line where I just don't know what else you're supposed to do. Like after you do it and then they don't do it, then what, you remind them again? Like when does it become too much, you know?
That's a really great question, Vicki. You know what I think the answer is? And if anybody else has a thought, feel free to chime in here. And this is something I forget to do myself. But I think if when the party's starting, if we always asked the host at that point, here's what it takes to be successful, are you willing to do it? I think that's a big key, because if they have something again, if they don't want to participate, maybe at that point it'll come to light that they're not a good candidate for being an online host. And here's the thing, it would be a bummer to take a party off your calendar, but it's a bigger bummer to work your tail off for a big fat zero of a party, right? So you can't avoid them. Like I said, you really can't. But I think that we could limit them by asking some qualifying questions at the beginning, which would be very clearly set the goal for the party and then say, okay, in order to make that happen, you're going to have to participate. You're going to have to be super active. You're going to have to post. You're going to have to tag people. You're going to have to private message people. How do you feel about that? Are you cool with that? Do I have, I'll commit to you that I'll do X, Y, and Z. How do you feel about being committed to you doing these things?
Yeah, I like asking that question about, are you willing to do that, versus just telling them what to do?
Yeah.
Like bringing them into the conversation.
Yeah, I think that, and I'll draft something, you guys. I'm working on a new format for online parties that I'm excited to share, but I'm kind of test running it. But I'll even create some verbiage for exactly how I would say that, because I need a system. So I know to say that, but I forget sometimes. So without a system that you use over and over again, it's easy to let little things like that fall through the cracks. So it's really important to formulate, okay, this is what I'm going to say every time, and this is what I'm going to say next. And I think that would be a great thing to make a piece of it. I like your comment here too, Vicki, that you had host invited 30, 10 showed up. It's over and over and over again. The numbers are really, and you're right, 10 people at an in-home is going to be $1,000 party. Like, I don't know if I've ever had 10 people in an in-home and it wasn't. It's just, unfortunately, if your host doesn't get people there, you can't pull it out of thin air, right? So you got to work the number.
Right. I feel too, when people do it in-home, when you invite them, just for me being a person who's invited to an in-home party, if I'm going, I'm most likely going to be buying something.
Yeah.
Like it's, versus a Facebook party, it's more laid back. People can not buy something because it's not thrown into it right at that moment.
Yep. Yeah. And I would say maybe for Facebook, if you guys are curious, if you haven't done very many, I would say a quarter of the people you put in the party might even be generous. It's like 10 shoppers out of 4. Like if I have a host who really kills it and she gets 40 people in that group, she could probably end up with 10 shoppers, but that might be the high end. So it's very realistic to know that too, because these hosts might not, they might think, oh, I'm killing it. 10 people jumped in the group. I'm going to have the biggest party ever. They're all going to spend $200, It's just really our job to be very realistic with them about what to expect. We don't want them disappointed. We don't want them disappointed when they're inviting. We don't want them disappointed when it's all over. And we have to do everything we can to alleviate that, which means informing them every step of the way. Does anybody else have anything to add? Any other tips or any other questions? No? Okay. Well, we will be having call 3 Tuesday night, same time, same place. And this will be success tips for actually executing the online party. So it won't be a strategy or system in terms of like, here's what your posts are. It's going to be, here are all of the overarching, like this is what you need to be thinking and how you need to be coming at your online parties to make sure that you're seeing success kind of after the host coaching piece is over. So join us Tuesday night. I will definitely share this recording, of course. And happy end of the month, you guys. We're rolling into the last week of the month. I have to give one more plug we're going to do that live opportunity next tomorrow night. If you guys are going for a 3x4 for Jamaica, I'm guessing many of you are, you guys have all week to finish up the recruits and the 4 parties and the 2,500. And the last week in January is a really powerful week. So don't you dare give up on that goal yet, because I'm hustling with you. I still need one more recruit to make it happen. And I do not want to go down this month with only 2 recruits. So we want the 3x4, right? So let me know if I can help with anything, and just know I'm working right alongside you this week trying to make that happen. So that's it. Okay. Let's call it a night. And those of us who are early to bedders, get to bed. And I will talk to all you guys later. Thanks for hopping on.